This is KSL Sports Live, broadcasting from the Mountain Home Services Studios.
Live from Ball Arena. This is one of the host cities for the NCAA tournament's first two rounds of March Madness. And of course, we've been with the BYU Cougars all week as they have been out here. We've been able to talk with them multiple times. I've had multiple conversations with the players this week, and we'll be bringing you some of those reactions from their big win on Thursday over VCU coming up a bit later on in the show. But just like in 2011, the big question is now, can BYU make it to the Sweet 16 with a win today in the second round? Well, BYU, they're facing the Wisconsin Badgers. That game tipping off in just a few minutes from now. The winner, of course, survives and advances. The loser, they head home with their season coming to a close. We'll have full highlights and post-game coverage coming your way tonight on KSL 5 News at 10 o'clock live from Denver. But right now, we're going to put March Madness just on a little bit of a brief hold for now because we're going to head over to the ice with the Utah Hockey Club. Maybe one day they'll raise a Stanley Cup banner at Delta Center just like the Colorado Avalanche have done here at Ball Arena 3 times in their history. But to raise that banner, of course, as we know, Utah, they of course have to make it to the playoffs first, and they're in the hunt for their inaugural season. This afternoon, the Utah Hockey Club was hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning, the third best team in the Atlantic Division. Utah is still 4 points outside of the playoffs. They need to defend home ice. First period, Utah scores first. Josh McBain finds Josh Doan in front of the crease for the 1-0 lead. Then late in the period, Michael Kesselring gets one-on-one with the goalie. He wasn't able to score, but Logan Cooley would clean it up. Utah allowed a late power play goal in the period, but they still led 2-1 after one period. In the second period, just over 5 minutes into the period, the Lightning play a little connect the dots here, and Anthony Cirelli nets his 24th goal of the season, tying the game at 2. Now, everyone loves fast answers, right? Just 36 seconds after Cirelli's goal, Alexander Kerfoot redirects Kevin Stenlund's pass into the net for the 3-2 Utah lead. The back and forth show continues with less than 3 minutes to go in the period. Tampa Bay's Jake Gensel with his 36th goal of the season. That ties him for 6th in the NHL. It also ties the game up at 3. But for the second time in the period, Utah takes just 30 seconds to answer. Cools stays hot. He redirects his second of the game. Utah takes the 4-3 lead into the second intermission. It didn't take much longer for Utah to find another goal in the third period. Just over a minute in after back-to-back denials, Nick Schmaltz finally pokes it in for the 5-3 Utah lead. A little bit of breathing room, right? But Tampa, of course, scores again less than 2 minutes later. Braden Point with his 34th of the season cuts it to 1, 5-4. But then Utah gets called for too many men on the ice, so they're short 2 men, and Veggie gets the big-time stop, shorthanded. Alexander Kerfoot would get an empty netter late, and Utah wins this game 6-4. Well, how about the teams just ahead of Utah in the standings? The Vancouver Canucks, 3 points ahead of Utah, visiting the New York Rangers. In the third period, Rangers were up 3-2 with 5 minutes left in the game when Brock Baser lights the lamp to bring the Canucks even 3-3. But 37 seconds later, the Rangers strike back. The puck dropped back for Johnny Brodzinski. He scores his second of the game. JT Miller added the empty netter, and the Rangers do Utah a favor, beating the Canucks 5-3. How about the Calgary Flames? Just 2 points ahead of Utah. They were visiting the New York Islanders. In the third period, the game tied at 2 here. The Islanders take the lead with less than 3 minutes to play. Kyle McLean scores for the 3-2 lead. So what's going on with these quick responses today? We get another one 29 seconds later. Jonathan Huberdeau scores to tie the game up and send it to overtime. In OT, the Flames end it. Nazem Kadri with the game-winning goal for the Flames, and they get 2 more points in the standings. The St. Louis Blues came into the weekend in that second wildcard spot with 77 points. They were hosting the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blues led 2-1 going into the third period. The lead would grow. Nathan Walker walks this one in for the 3-1 lead. Then Zach Bolduc, right place, right time to get the rebound on this one and put it in. The Blues win easily over the Blackhawks. So, with that flurry of early action today in the NHL, this is what we're looking at in the race for the wild card in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Minnesota Wild still have that top wild card spot. The Blues still in that second spot with 79 points, 2 points ahead of the Flames, but also 2 more games played than Calgary. Utah still has a lot of work to do, you can see there, to catch up, and they'll also need a little bit of help along the way in order to close that gap. Utah next up will be hosting Detroit on Monday. Yeah, we're excited to watch that matchup coming up a little bit later on this evening as well. Right, time to switch gears to football. BYU football has been going strong for a few weeks now, but now it's time for the Utes to get going this spring. Utah opened up spring football practices on Thursday up on the hill. They'll hold 15 practices between now and April 19th when they'll cap off their spring season with the 22 Forever spring game. These next 4+ weeks of practices, they're going to be pretty important for Utah's offense as they take the first reps in this new look offense that offensive coordinator Jason Beck is bringing to the U. It's also going to be a time to build that early chemistry, right? Because they've got the new quarterback, Devon Dampier also. Last year at New Mexico, Beck and Dampier led the Lobos to the 4th-ranked offense in the nation. 484 yards, 34 points per game. And what they're bringing with them to the U, well, it's already a breath of fresh air for the rest of the roster.
I like this offense. That's what I'm going to say. This offense is really good. We have a lot of crafty players. Obviously, having Dev out there controlling the O is going to be a great thing. I love it.
I mean, Coach Beck and his staff, they do a great job at moving things around. I mean, so many emotions. There's a lot going on. So I think it's going to be electric for sure.
Oh, we'll see how it evolves. But, Devon Dampier, you know what he did last year. He put up some really good numbers. Throwing the football, rushing the football. So it was a very prolific offense. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, obviously you want to play to the quarterback's strengths, which is what we'll do, and we know exactly what those are based on his production last year in this very offense.
We have more Utah football coming up in a bit, but we also have more hoops coming your way here on KSL Sports Live. It's also, though, a big week for future locals in the NFL. BYU and Utah both sending several players down to Texas for the Big 12 Pro Day. How did that go? We'll show you coming up.
You're watching KSL Sports Live.
Well, welcome back to Ball Arena in Denver, where we're coming to you live. You know, this is one of the sites for the opening round of the opening weekends, I should say, of the NCAA tournament. Of course, it's a big weekend for college basketball, but it's also a big week for a lot of college athletes that are trying to take their talents to the NFL, especially locally in Utah. Specifically, 25 football players from both Utah and BYU are in the hunt for an NFL job. For the second straight year, the Big 12 Conference held its Pro Day down in Texas. Players from each Big 12 school participating in front of coaches and scouts from every single NFL team. 12 different BYU Cougars were invited to the Pro Day. Defensive back Jacob Robinson was one of them. He had one of the 8 best vertical leaps in Pro Day for his position, jumping 38.5 inches.
I've been training in Cali at a sports academy in Seal Beach since January 5th, and then, this is my first time leaving there. I feel like I prepared well. The team I was in Cali with, they were great, so learned a lot from them, and really progressed in every way. So.
For a 6'7", 330-pound tackle, Caleb Etienne sure showed off his athleticism at Pro Day. His 5.01 40 time, that was 3rd fastest among 33 offensive linemen. His 30-inch vertical jump, also 3rd highest of the offensive linemen at the Pro Day. He was top 5 with 27 reps on the bench press. He had the best broad jump at 9 feet 6 inches. Etienne also held in-person meetings with the Dolphins, Raiders, and Chargers, and a separate virtual meeting with the 49ers as his draft status continues to grow.
I've been up in Miami training at Bomberitos, just out there trying to get right and to come out here and put on the show, obviously. But today had an early wake up and had to come out here and perform, and I felt like I did pretty good. Felt explosive, felt healthy, and just put on a great time.
BYU defensive tackle John Nelson also stood out down in Frisco, Texas. He came into the week projected to be added as an undrafted player to a training camp roster, but the way he performed with some of the top players in the Big 12, his draft grade might just be going up. He finished in the top 10 for defensive linemen in the 40, the vertical jump, the bench press, and the broad jump.
I'd say it was great. Was really good to get out there and get tested and get our numbers officially tracked, and just had a great time here at the Cowboys facility. really professional, and yeah, had a lot of fun.
The University of Utah sent 13 players down to Frisco for the Big 12 Pro Day, and one of the more intriguing prospects from the U is tight end Caleb Lohner. He just wrapped up his 5th season of college hoops, but it was what he did last fall that has NFL scouts pretty interested. Playing as a tight end for the Utes, just 4 catches for 54 yards, but all 4 catches were touchdowns. No surprise he had the top vertical and broad jumps at the Pro Day for his position. And add that to a 4.69 40, it may be enough for NFL teams to take a chance on him in the draft.
Or 6. Good rep right there.
Defensive end Van Fillinger's combination of speed and strength have him projected as a potential day 3 pick in the NFL draft. Fillinger put up 30 reps in the bench press, the most for D linemen at the Big 12 Pro Day, and he had a top 10 40 speed at 4.95. Fillinger finished his career at the U with 19.5 sacks and 29 TFLs. Utah defensive end Connor O'Toole will be one of the quickest pass rushers in this draft class. He proved that at Big 12 Pro Day. He had the fastest 40 time for D lineman there, 4.66. He had the top vertical jump at 37.5 inches and the quickest shuttle time at 4.3 seconds. The former Utah wide receiver ended up with 8.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles during his career at the U. Now, one thing that has made Utah football so good over the years, of course, over the past couple decades, has been the consistency, specifically on defense. That consistency did carry over into year 1 of the Big 12. Utah's defense, one of the best in the conference across the board. Statistically, the Utes had the 2nd best scoring defense, allowing only 20 points per game. They were 3rd in the conference, giving up just 329 yards per game, and they were top 5 in rushing and passing defense. And they also returned the most interceptions for scorers in the conference last season. No matter how good Utah's defense has been, though, it still wasn't good enough. Defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley sees plenty of areas that need improvement.
I would say we weren't good enough in run defense last year. Not good enough in run defense. I don't know that we didn't have enough takeaways. So those 2 things are the biggest thing for us, the ability to flip the field, turn the ball over. We did some good things, 1st downs, 3rd downs, but we got to take the ball away, and we got to be more stout in stopping the run.
We want to dominate. Like, our mindset should be nobody crosses the 50, right? And when you come to Utah, like I said, you not only come to win football games, but you come to play really good defense. And so I feel like that's my approach, and obviously being a leader now, I think we're trying to take that approach to every practice.
It's rather simple. We have reached into our past to develop our future. Without further ado, I want to introduce our 17th head coach of the famed Utah men's basketball program, Alex Jensen.
The dream hire for the Runnin' Utes. He was introduced in front of fans on Monday as a new era of Utah basketball is set to begin. Now, watching both Utah State and BYU make it to the NCAA tournaments the past couple of seasons, while the Runnin' Utes have been left home, probably something the program does not want to experience anymore. So, after several years of experience coaching in the NBA, Alex Jensen is finally back home, given the charge to help return Utah's basketball program to national relevance once again. He wants to use his NBA experience to improve the program, but also to develop genuine relationships with recruits, players, and their families that will make the program a top destination. He took several questions during his introductory press conference up at the Huntsman Center. One of those questions was one that allowed him to tell the fans what he wants Utah's team to become under his tenure.
It's going to be a tough, hard-nosed, competitive team that will make the fan base proud. I had conversations with all the players today, and it'll be with the changing landscape, it'll be a place where players want to come and play and want to be a part of, I think, after they're done playing.
Utah fans are pretty thrilled with Alex Jensen's hiring. The boosters, they've got to be excited to hopefully see the return of championship basketball to the Huntsman Center. But one person that may be the most excited, how about football head coach Kyle Whittingham? He is pumped to have Jensen back up on the hill.
I'm excited about Alex being here and got all the respect in the world for him, what he did as a player, what he's done as a coach since he's been here. And I'm excited to see what he does with that program.
It's Utah Gymnastics' first season as a member of the Big 12 Conference, and it's no surprise that, of course, they're the premier program already in the conference and the favorites to win the conference championships this weekend over at Maverick Center. The Red Rocks, they started the night on the vault where Grace McCollum, she shined again, scoring a 9.9 on her vault routine. And then Ashley Glenn, she added a 9.9. The Red Rocks leading after one rotation. On the bars, McKenna Smith led off with a 9.925. And then on the beam, Cammie Winger, she also recorded a 9.925. Grace McCollum would add another 9.9 a bit later on as well. We'll have full coverage and results of that one coming up tonight at 10. And also we want to congratulate the Utah State Gymnastics team. They won the Mountain West Gymnastics Championship today with a score of 196.100. Brianna Brooks was named the all-around championship and the MVP of that one as well. We have more from Denver coming up right after this. Welcome back live to Denver Ball Arena, the site of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament where the BYU Cougars have been playing. Of course, they got the big win over VCU on Thursday. They are about to tip off for their second round matchup coming up in just a little bit against the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin just 3-3 against ranked opponents this year. Can BYU knock them off and get to the Sweet 16? If they do so, it would be the first time since 2011 when BYU got there out of this very same arena. So, of course, we'll have full coverage of this game coming your way tonight on KSL Sports Live during the 10 o'clock news here on KSL Channel 5. In the meantime, download the KSL Sports app and you can follow full coverage of the BYU Cougars and their NCAA tournament run with that app. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tonight at 10.